everyone, I am Kim Snyder, and thank you so much for joining me for the Sane Crypto Podcast, the first cryptocurrency podcast for baby boomers investing for retirement. Most people believe crypto assets are too risky for the average investor. I believe the risk is in not investing, and in fact, cryptocurrency may be the answer to near retirees' prayers. The Sane Crypto Mastermind is my signature program for those who want the diversification benefits and return potential of cryptocurrency, but can't, won't, or frankly, just don't have the time to figure this all out and keep up with it on their own. If you'd like to learn more, I'd encourage you to join my free online training, which is called How to Diversify Your Portfolio, Protect Against Inflation, and Juice Returns Without Taking a Lot of Risk. You can find that and sign up at sanecrypto.com/retirement. So just this morning, there was news that a very small Canadian exchange called Maple Change claimed that they were hacked and, quote, all funds are gone, end quote. They put out a note on Twitter saying they had no money to pay anyone back and then just disappeared. Now, a couple of things to note here. This was thankfully not a major, reputable exchange. The amount lost was supposedly only about $5 million. And there is quite a lot of speculation about whether this really was a hack, or whether it is what is known as an exit scam, where scammers set up an exchange or an ICO for the express purpose of disappearing with the money. Either way, regardless of which it ends up being, if you were one of the people who had cryptocurrency sitting on that exchange when it closed, that money is gone. Poof, like gone, up in a cloud of smoke. Because the thing that you have to remember about cryptocurrencies, spit it out, Kim, cryptocurrencies is that they are basically bearer instruments like cash, only digital. It's as if you had left $1,000 sitting on your desk and a workman saw it and walked away with it. So I thought, with that fresh on everyone's mind, that today would be an excellent time to walk you through a guide to protecting your crypto assets from hackers and loss. Andreas Antonopoulos is an author and pretty famous Bitcoin evangelist who does lots of talks all around the world. And he has a phrase which I quite like. It's very easy to remember. Your keys, your money. Not your keys, not your money. Meaning, because Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency rely on cryptographic keys for security and verification of ownership, rather than a third party like a bank doing that, if you give your key away or somehow expose it to someone else, now it's their money because they can just take it. It would be like leaving your key to your front door under the doormat and leaving for vacation. If someone discovers that key or knows it's there, they can just walk in and take what they want. There's nothing stopping them. Your keys, your money. Not your keys, not your money. Which is also useful in understanding crypto security in another way. For example, if you have bought cryptocurrency on an exchange, any exchange, we'll just say, like Kraken or Gemini, Coinbase, any of them, and you leave that money sitting there on the exchange, that money is technically theirs, not yours, because it is being stored right now on the blockchain on their cryptographic key, with just an internal ledger entry at the exchange saying how much of that total belongs to me and how much to you and how much to all of their other customers. It's all there on the blockchain on Gemini's key, for example, if that's the exchange that you're using. So that is how, when an exchange is hacked or they go out of business or something like that, that your money could be lost. And just to be clear, it isn't Bitcoin that has been hacked. Okay, Bitcoin has never been hacked. That's a myth or a misunderstanding that people have, right? And it has had the richest imaginable bounty on its head, right? Now, hundreds of billions of dollars for 10 years now. Okay, and it has not been hacked. It is the exchanges and their software that have been hacked, right? Just like the US dollar isn't hacked, your bank or credit card company is. Now, there have been situations where a large reputable exchange was hacked. None in the US so far, thankfully. There was an exchange over in Japan a while back that had hundreds of millions of dollars stolen. And in that case, the exchange chose to and was financially able to make the customers whole. But there's no guarantee that they will or that they can do that, which is why you want to be very careful about the exchanges that you use. And because that is, at least for now, a big vulnerability, best practice is to transfer your crypto assets as soon as possible from the exchange to a digital wallet where they are now under your control, your cryptographic key, not the exchange's control and their cryptographic key. So, what is a digital crypto wallet? The most common way of using the phrase is that it is a software application that allows you to easily send and receive crypto assets, check your balances, and manage your cryptographic keys. So thinking about the analogy of a bank, right? It's like deposits, withdrawals, check your balances, and changing your password, okay? Same ideas. Because again, remember, this is a key point. The wallet isn't actually holding your cryptocurrency the way a physical wallet would hold cash. Okay, this is more like a bank account. Your crypto assets are just an entry on the blockchain. What the wallet is doing is accessing the blockchain and using your cryptographic keys, which it does contain, to allow you to easily send and receive, buy and sell, and check to make sure that the amount that you have on the blockchain is what you think you have. Okay? So that's what it does. So if it were lost, meaning your wallet, right, for example, it's not like you've lost your cryptocurrency. Again, it's not like you've lost your physical wallet filled with cash, because your crypto is an entry on this distributed ledger. This is a software application that allows you to interact with the blockchain to easily send, receive, check balances, generate addresses, etc. Okay? Also, understand that at the moment, there is no single wallet that can hold every single cryptocurrency. And that is because there are literally thousands of different cryptocurrencies, each with their own blockchain and their own hashing algorithms and this, that, and the other. And it's just, at this point, not feasible for a single wallet to hold every single cryptocurrency. There are hundreds of different wallets out there, and some can only hold a single cryptocurrency, like the Bitcoin Core wallet just holds Bitcoin. Others, and I would say most these days, can hold many different cryptocurrencies, and generally will hold most of the well-known cryptocurrencies. But if you choose to own something that's more obscure, the more likely it is that you may need to search out a wallet for that specific cryptocurrency. All right, so now let's talk about the different types of digital wallet. And I'm going to give you this list from most secure, quote, most secure to least secure, though that's somewhat in the eyes of the beholder. And I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons of each. So let's start with a hardware wallet. A hardware wallet is a dedicated piece of hardware that is specifically built to hold cryptocurrency and keep it secure. These are generally USB devices, meaning they plug into your computer's USB port. But what makes them so secure is that they basically bypass your computer system, even though they are being plugged into a USB port. They have their own standalone software, everything that they need. All they need is your USB port. So what that means is that keystroke loggers and other malware that's on your computer can't breach the hardware wallet. So you plug them in, you do what you need to do with them, and then you unplug them and take them offline. And so now, when they're unplugged, there's no connection to the internet, and that is what is known as a cold wallet, one that is not connected to the internet in any way. Hardware wallets are, pretty small, about the size of a thumb drive or a small device, okay? So they are both portable and secure. They can be locked in a safe deposit box, for example. The three most well-known hardware wallets are the Trezor, the Ledger Nano, which is the one that I use and have recommended, and KeepKey. 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 Any of those three are good, and I'll put links for each in the show notes. I would argue that a hardware wallet is by far the most secure method of storing your cryptocurrency. Now, I've kind of already touched on the pros and cons of a hardware wallet. It's portable and it's secure, even for large dollar amounts. I would personally be totally comfortable, assuming I had backups, etc., storing fairly large sums of cryptocurrency on a hardware wallet. The cons are, in my view, they're not super user-friendly, although they're getting a little bit better. But, they're kind of a pain in the butt to set up. They're these little tiny screens with little tiny buttons. And I find that my mastermind members find them a little bit intimidating at first, even though once I've walked them through it, they realize it's really quite simple. It's just the process just a little tedious at first. So the next rung down the security ladder is a mobile wallet. And a mobile wallet is run on your phone as a smartphone app. Some examples of mobile wallets are Jaxx, Engine Wallet, Mycelium, just to name a few that come to mind. The advantages of a mobile wallet is that obviously it's always with you. Nowadays, who has their phone very far from them ever? So that makes mobile wallets particularly good for those who are using them for mobile payments or short-term buying and selling, which is not me, and I hope is not you either. The consensus is that a mobile device is more secure than a desktop computer, especially if your desktop computer is Windows, because Windows is just horribly vulnerable to malware and keystroke loggers, etc. Now, some people would say, particularly if they're manufacturers of desktop wallets, that mobile devices are not more secure because they have all these backdoors built into them, which were the subject of the kerfluffle between Apple and I don't know if it was the FBI or the NSA. When Apple wouldn't open the back door for the NSA. So, okay, I get that. Fair point. However, if the NSA needs Apple to open it, then I feel reasonably confident that that is more secure than my desktop computer, even my Mac computer. So that's why I listed it next in terms of level of security. The other thing that makes mobile wallets much more convenient is that they have QR code readers built into the process. Because remember I told you that those keys, the cryptographic keys, are a really long string of letters and numbers. So most apps will show you that long string, right? That the hash, but they also show it as a QR code. So with a smartphone, you can just use the QR code scanner and just click. So to get things done, it's just literally 2 clicks in many cases, making these very convenient. The downside to mobile wallets, in my view, is that, and to be fair, I don't have a lot of experience with them because I don't really use them. But based on reviews in the App Store and different Reddit comments, they seem to be pretty buggy still. And the 2 that have the best reviews aren't available for iOS yet. They are Google Android only. So if you're Google, you're in luck. But for those of us who are iOS, our choices seem to be much more limited. Okay, so that's a mobile wallet. Paper wallet is next. So this is kind of funny to think of this as a wallet or even being secure. But remember what I just said, that cryptographic keys are just a series of letters and numbers, and that they can be combined into a QR code that can be scanned as an image. Well, with a paper wallet, which is just what it sounds like, you can use software that will create your public and private keys for you, and you literally print them out on a piece of paper. And that piece of paper will have the keys on it, as well as, a QR code that you can scan. And that's really technically all you need for a wallet. Because remember, here's where people can't get their head around paper wallets. Remember, again, the wallet doesn't actually hold anything. It's the private key that secures and verifies your entries on the blockchain. So the fact that someone's sending to your address that only exists on a piece of paper, and on the blockchain, of course, right, works perfectly well. The pros or advantages of a paper wallet. Let me go. The advantage is, I was going to go the other way first, but I'll go this way. The advantage is, even though it's a horrible pain, but this is actually, in terms of security, the only way that you can create a private key without ever anywhere in the process exposing it to the internet. Now, again, that's depending on how you do it. It requires all these different leaps where you download things and install operating systems on flash drives and computers that have never touched the internet and all this crazy stuff, okay? So I'm not going to go to that much trouble, but I guess if I had gazillions of dollars, I probably would. Or if I was a conspiracy theorist, I might, but otherwise, I'm just going to stick with my hardware wallet. Another pro is it's super portable. It's literally a piece of paper. And so what people who use paper wallets do is they generally print multiple copies and they put them in baggies or they laminate them and then they store them in different places for redundancy. Maybe one's in a file folder somewhere and one's in a safe deposit box, for example. Now, the downside to that, the flip side is the downside there. There are no permissions, no pins, no passwords. If your housekeeper were nosy and was to find it and know what they were looking at, they have the keys to the kingdom, And the fact that it's just a piece of paper, that there's no way for you to restrict anybody who has access to that piece of paper is not ideal for most of us. And so next is a desktop wallet. As you can probably guess, a desktop wallet is an app that sits on your computer rather than dedicated hardware or an app on your phone. The advantage of a desktop wallet is that they are much more user-friendly. Certainly in the case of something like Exodus, for example, it's the first one that feels more like the sort of app that a non-techie type person would use, because what you may not know is back in the day, not very long ago, right before they even started creating these wallets, they moved this stuff around the blockchain using command line, which is obviously a bit of an issue if you want mainstream adoption. So they built software called wallets to abstract away a lot of that complexity. Again, kind of like, you could write SQL to query the database of your bank. Instead, they created an internet portal, right? The same kind of an idea. The downside of a desktop wallet, as I've already mentioned, is that they are less secure, and that is especially true on a Windows machine. I think most people aren't as security conscious as they should be because the consequences haven't been that great. And we greatly underestimate how clever these bad actors are. We think, oh, my machine is clean, but chances are quite high that it's not. So if that's you and you're not 100% sure that your machine is clean, then you might not want to use a desktop wallet, because what you gain in ease of use, you give up in security. And then the final one is called an online wallet. And I'm going to tell you what it is, but I absolutely positively do not recommend you use an online wallet. This is a web-based wallet. You don't download an app, but rather the data is hosted in the cloud on someone's server. Some of these online wallets are hybrid in that they allow you to encrypt your data before you send it up there. So at least it's sitting on the server encrypted, but it's still not ideal. Some of them will let you control your private keys, but some are custodial where you don't control your keys. And remember what we said, your keys, your money, not your keys, not your money. So, it's hard for me to make a case for why anyone would want to use an online wallet. I mean, yes, I get it. It's probably really convenient, probably really user-friendly, but heck, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just leave it at the exchange. And I guess technically you could argue that, leaving it on this exchange is a form of online wallet, okay? I'm actually talking about an online wallet that's not associated with the exchange. But because, I certainly trust the big name US exchanges as much as I trust some online wallet that I know nothing about. At least the exchange, in the case of Gemini or Itbit or Coinbase, are regulated as a New York State trust company, right? So, I just absolutely do not recommend online wallets, but now you know what they are. Okay, so tips and best practices. Just to summarize everything that we've talked about, the TLDR again, right? Your keys, your money, not your keys, not your money. If you remember that, you understand the basics of cryptocurrency security. If you lose your private key, then you lose your money. And the reason you lose your keys doesn't matter. There's no way to reclaim your cryptocurrency without limit. In fact, they say that there are already over 3 million Bitcoin, not dollars, Bitcoin, that are just lost. Everyone knows they're lost, but nobody has the key. So they're just out there floating around unrecoverable. If your wallet is hacked, be it with a custodian like an exchange or an online wallet, and your funds are taken, you lose your money. So make sure to use best practices and keep your wallet secure. Never leave more money on an exchange for an extended period of time than you're willing to lose. Sometimes because of withdrawal limits and holds, you can't transfer them right that minute. But as long as you're using a reputable exchange, I'm not worried about that. But just move them as soon as you can. Don't just store them on the exchange as a matter of convenience. Let's see. Remember the terms that I used earlier, hot wallet and cold wallet? A hot wallet is a wallet which is exposed to the internet. For example, like I said earlier, a hardware wallet which is unplugged and in a safe, that's a very cold wallet, okay? Hot wallet is much more vulnerable. So if you have a hot wallet, like a desktop or a mobile app, make sure that you have as many layers of protection on it as you can. Things like turn on two-factor authentication, not SMS authentication, real two-factor authentication using Authy or Google Authenticator. Make sure that you have a strong password, that it's not the same password you use for anything else. Make sure that anytime you connect, you're using a VPN, a virtual private network. Make sure that all the security settings are turned on, etc. Also, you want to be very careful about browser extension malware if you're using online wallets, which again, I don't recommend. And this is another reason why I don't recommend them. The way they work, meaning online wallets, is like a lot of them work like those little apps that live up there in the top of your menu bar on your browser, which is why people like them, right? They're very convenient. You just click up there, and they'll show your balances all day, in your little drop down. But, of course, there is browser extension malware. So if you're going to do that for some reason, then you should really consider using a different browser for your online wallet than you do for your other day-to-day internet browsing. Also, be aware that some software being offered as a wallet out there on the internet is actually malware, trying to take advantage of those who don't know better, and they just download and install unofficial software off the internet that looks, again, these websites are beautiful, and they have fake reviews and active communities that are being, populated and kept up to date with bots, so they look like people are chatting and like all kinds of stuff. So never trust wallet software that comes from a source that you don't know and trust, or just do Google searches and click on random links, even, ads. These people pay for ads. You always check to make sure that it's well known, and also that you are downloading it from the site that you think you are on, okay? Back to the phishing thing. They are amazing at this these days, okay? Another thing I really strongly recommend to my mastermind members is a separate email address and a separate bank account for cryptocurrency accounts, to limit social engineering type hacks where your email and or your phone number are hijacked, which also happen. And then my final tip is, when you're sending money between the exchange and your wallet for the first time, if you are not absolutely 100% sure and comfortable with the process, test it with a small amount first, because there is no undo button. If you send it to the wrong address, it's gone. It would be like, you sent you send an email or a text message, right, to someone you didn't mean to send it to, and it's something they should have not seen, and and you're like all embarrassed. Well, it's the same way with this. There's no undo, right? It's gone. There's no way to get it back. Okay, so the first couple of times you do it, it's a little daunting just for that reason, because there's no undo button, right? And so, but then I promise, once you've done it once or twice, you're like, yeah, I totally get this. It's like all things, familiarity and repetition makes it pretty commonplace. Okay, so that is your introduction to securing your crypto assets. So let's summarize. Actually, just one more thing. There is one thing that I didn't cover in this guide, but I would just point you to another episode of the podcast and that is estate planning. And what happens to your crypto assets if something were to happen to you. I covered that in great detail in my interview with Pamela Morgan on crypto asset inheritance planning, which is episode 23. So I'll put a link to that as well. So obviously that is also, its own topic, but also an important part of protecting your cryptocurrency against loss, because it could be lost if something happens to you and you haven't left proper instructions and keys and things to your loved one. Okay, so let's summarize. 1, your keys, your money, not your keys, not your money. 2, best practice is to always store your crypto assets in a strong wallet, preferably a hardware wallet like Ledger Nano or Trezor, not on the exchange. Number 3, don't think you're too small to be a target. Modern computing allows bad actors to be constantly poking and prodding for vulnerabilities. So always use strong passwords, unique passwords, VPNs, virus and malware scanners, etc. Number 4, managing your own bank may seem like a pain, but it is one of the reasons that we expect a higher return on crypto assets than other traditional asset classes. And number 5, profit is the reward for risk. Manage risk well, you keep the profit. Manage it poorly, someone else profits. So as always, I hope you found that helpful. It went a little bit longer and was a little bit more raggedy than I would have hoped, but it's also timely. So yeah, hope you found that helpful. If it was, then I have a favor to ask you. I am sure you've heard me and other podcast hosts ask you for iTunes reviews. I'm going to ask again. Those reviews tell the iTunes algorithm to show the podcast to more people by sending an important social signal to the algorithm. Otherwise, it just ends up in a dead black hole somewhere. It gets shown to less and less people. So it's not just to make me feel good. It really is actually really important. So if that's you and you did find it helpful, would you please take just a moment to do 2 things. Number 1, to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes. And 2, leave me a 5-star rating and a review with comments and feedback, like so many others of you have done. And if you are one of those others, thank you so much. I do read each and every one. I take your feedback, I learn from it, and I really appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to learn more about striking the right balance in your cryptocurrency investments and my system for doing that, I recommend my free online training, which is called How to Diversify Your Portfolio, Protect Against Inflation, and Juice Returns Without Taking a Lot of Risk. You can find the details on that and sign up if you like at sanecrypto.com/retirement. You can get the full show notes of this episode, including any links to any of the resources I mentioned, at sanecrypto.com/podcast. And finally, if you have a question about anything I said today or anything else for that matter, just email me at askkim@sanecrypto.com. I read and answer every email personally, as well as answer some of them here on the show. Everything I say on this show is for educational purposes only. Nothing should be considered investment advice. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk, so do not, under any circumstances, invest money you can't afford to lose. That is it for me. I am Kim Snyder. I'll be back next week. Until then, may the crypto gods continue to smile on us all.